The Strangers Chapter 1 was one of the worst horror movies we've discussed in the last few years, and it very much made us dread the entire Cursed trilogy. Well, we've put it off as long as we could. It's time for Chapter 2, but who knows, maybe this one's better. Right, guys? Welcome everyone to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Tim.
Hello?
That's the energy we're bringing into the show. I honestly, Tim, I very nearly just completely threw out the normal intro and wanted to start with a bit of sass, a bit of spice, just to set the tone correctly for what's about to follow. Because you see, everyone, this is a horror movie podcast, and today we are reviewing The Strangers Chapter 2. And if you're thinking, isn't Chapter 3 out already? Well, it is, yeah, but we're catching up on Part 2 right now. We'll get to Part 3 when it's available at home, but they pumped out the third one so quickly after 2 that it's already out in theaters. You were so excited for the next one, Tim, because you liked the first one so much.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't wait. I was like, I want it now.
Yeah. Did we give the first one worst movie of... I think it was like the runner-up. I think it was like the second worst movie we said of 2024.
Jeez, what could have beaten it?
I think we said Imaginary was just a little bit worse.
I mean, I guess on a technical level, I mean, gun to my head, I guess maybe I'd rather watch Strangers again. But at the very least, though, at least Imaginary was like a original idea. Whatever. The first Strangers is just such a blatant, retelling of the first one. It just felt so unnecessary that I'm still angry about it.
Let's not throw around the word original idea with Imaginary, Timmy. Technically, it's not like a reboot, but it's not. There's nothing original about it. Come on now.
Sure. Fair.
Let's be real here. So yes, we'll start spoiler free, of course, as we always do. We'll give you warning before we get the spoilers. Hit like if you're on YouTube, you're enjoying the show. You can support us on Patreon. I'll tell you more about that at the end of the episode. Now, while I say spoiler free, of course, the one exception to that is that we kind of have to spoil a little bit of the first one, because otherwise, how are we going to talk about any of this? Really, because I mean, it follows a character from the first one who survived, so inherently, we're kind of just picking up straight where that one left off. So, yes. But anyway, so if you for some reason you jump into this review, you've not seen the first review or don't know anything about this trilogy, this was a weird trilogy announced with Renny Harlin directing all 3 parts. I think they shot it all basically as one big production, and which is why they've been coming out so relatively quick and close to each other. And this is part 2. The first one was very, very similar in structure and premise to the original Strangers from 2008, which at the very least...
Just minus the talent.
Minus any talent that may have been there, yes. Very well put. But it did leave maybe like, well, the second one can't be that, right? Surely, as much as, because, I mean, obviously we were being facetious earlier, we hated the first one. It was terrible. It was like the biggest waste of time ever. Like, you'd think if they were announcing a trilogy, they had some kind of cool idea or some reason they wanted to do it, but it was just like an exercise in pumping out content, it felt like. But at least we've done the beat for beat one now. This one can't be beat for beat. And it isn't. To be fair, this is not following the original Strangers or Strangers Pray at Night or anything like that. It's not doing that. So that's something.
I guess to be fair, going into this, I was, I guess, morbidly curious about it for all the reasons you said. Like, absolutely hated the first one, but part of me was like, okay, they seem so excited to greenlit an entire trilogy. Like, there must have been something that Renny just sold the shit out of in the pitch that made them go like, yes, we need this. And my kind of thought was like, okay, maybe he had this big idea, but then the studio was like, okay, but we really should kind of retell the first one to get people on board so that we can get to this idea, whatever. So part of me was kind of hoping, because I mean, he's not like my favorite director, but I do like some Renny Harlin movies. Like, at the very least, I think he is capable of making it's like some fun B movie kind of stuff. So I was hoping that we'd get like something out of this, and then yeah, maybe he was just like, all right, I guess I have to kind of retell the first one to get to this point where I can really stretch and do my weird original take. So part of me was kind of like, all right, the first one sucks so much, but who knows? Maybe there might be something here.
And let's be clear, the first one was so bad that anything you're saying right now about, well, maybe because we're in your ideas with the next one, it'll be better. That is copium. Because the quality of the first one was so bad, not just on the reboot level of like, oh, we're just regurgitating things. The suspense, the direction, it was just boring. It was just a boring ass movie. None of the characters had chemistry. You didn't buy into anything. It was a turd. It was one of the biggest turds of the last few years. That brings us to Strangers Chapter 2. And this one is kind of doing a Halloween 2 style thing where it's like, here's the survivor from the first film, Maya, played by Madelaine Petsch, and she's in hospital just like Jamie Lee Curtis was in Halloween 2, and we're just going to pick it up there, and that's what this movie is. And, you know, Tim, I think there is a potentially good idea in a director who's talented and a good script where someone says, you know how Mad Max Fury Road's like one big chase the entire movie, right? Someone says, okay, we want to do kind of a slasher movie, but it's basically just like the final girl chase, but for the entire movie. Like, we're right away, we're at the final girl, and we're going to have her be stalked the entire time. And I'm sure there's some movies that kind of loosely get close to that idea. But here's the thing. Half the last movie was that, because there was no other characters to chase. It was just her and the boyfriend. This whole movie is just her being chased by the killers pretty much, with the odd little break to have a spooky chat. And then we're not even done. There's not even an ending. So there's no start or ending to this movie. It's just like mediocre to bad chase sequences over and over again. To be continued. There's your movie. Pay us, bitch.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, where there's potential in this. I mean, essentially, it feels like a survival horror game. Like, you know, this is, you know, running away from Mr. X or Nemesis or something. You know, like, you get a little run, you try to, you know, find something to distract them or hurt them for a second, then find a place to hide and blah blah blah. Like, in theory, like you're saying, I like that premise. And, you know, if you have a cool villain and a good atmosphere and, you know, intriguing main character, like, you know, all of that could be, you know, quite well.
Yeah,
but
maybe some fun set pieces that kind of feel like, you know, a roller coaster going up and down, ebbs and flow, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Not here though. No, not here. No.
No.
Did you want that in this movie? Sorry, we forgot.
Yeah, I guess the only positive I can possibly give it, at least in parts, at the start of the movie, I was like, well, at least we're in a hospital. This is inherently a new location. It's better than the forest, which we spent like 30 minutes running around in last movie. So that's at least something. That is objectively an improvement. That is the end of my pleasant statements. That is the last of my positives.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can really say is it's better than the first one because at least it's different. End of story. That's it. Nothing else positive will be said. That
is the lowest bar that one could say. But in some ways, this pissed me off more. Okay. Because of what it is, because it doesn't have anything, and the way it ends is such a spit in the face of like, how dare you insult me with this bullshit.
Yeah, like there's definitely movies, like obviously there's, you know, other trilogies and like big franchise stuff where, you know, it ends and you know there's a new movie coming, and that's, you know, and a lot of times you know, well, I mean, I guess you can say, you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But there's plenty of examples where it does work, and it's like, oh, this felt like a satisfying story, but I understand that, you know, I'm waiting for the next installment or whatever. Yeah, like you say, it just feels cheap. It's like, yeah, we're just stopping it here for, you know, we're just deciding this is where to stop it. Although, I mean, if you don't like that they ended it here, you may be interested in the edited, like, what, 3-ish hour long version that they're threatening to put out, similar to Tarantino's Kill Bill, where they combined both volumes into one movie. They did say that there's potential for them to do that with these, which sounds like a threat, honestly. Like,
it would be way longer than 3 hours, Tim, because like this is like 95 minutes. The last one was like 90 minutes. The next one's probably like 90 minutes.
My hope would be that they would trim some stuff out to try to make it maybe fit a bit more, so that
you fool,
hopefully
you sweet ignorant fool. Your hope is hope. You have hope after watching this? What are you talking about, Tim?
But I mean, in all seriousness, what I do think they should have done, because again, the first movie to me just felt like such a waste of time, and I mean, this is a waste of time as well. But honestly, they should have just like retold the first movie in about 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, Evil
and then
Dead
just
2.
gone straight into this movie. Exactly. Yeah.
Evil Dead 2 style, yeah. Just do a quick 10-minute version of it, and then we're into the new stuff. Yeah. Although, to be honest, like the vibe I'm getting after watching this second chapter is that this is a 90-minute movie stretched over 3 movies, because this just felt like the middle act of a slasher movie to an extent. And although there's definitely some specific things it's doing to draw it out that really irritate me, so we'll talk about that obviously once we get into spoilers a bit more specifically. Like there's a couple more kills in this one. I guess that's an objective plus. It's a low bar. But you know.
I wouldn't say many of the kills are necessarily well done. And
I never said that. I just said there's more.
That's true. Yeah. And I mean, I probably mentioned this before, but I'm not the biggest fan of the first movie, but I understand what it's going for and why people like it. And it is so funny to me that
just the editor's note. Tim means the original Strangers when he says first movie.
Yes, yeah, the very first one. Yeah. I want to say like 2008, 2009.
2008, yeah, that's right.
Okay. The only reason why I remember is because I remember, I think I just graduated from college and seen it probably around that time, or maybe slightly before I graduated. Anyway, this made me feel old, but what was I saying? Oh yeah, this new trilogy or whatever just feels like it is so far removed from what people liked about the first one, which, like the whole point of it and the reason why people like still talk about it is that it's the randomness of it. It is, these are strangers.
Especially, I mean, we said in the first chapter, there's hints of them doing some stuff. This one starts doing stuff that completely goes away from, what anyone liked about that original Strangers movie.
Yeah, yeah, like, obviously we'll wait until we're officially in spoiler town before we go into it, but yeah, if part of the reason why you like the original is because, it just feels like so random and out of nowhere, it's like, well, guess what? You're going to learn a lot more than you ever wanted to know about these guys.
Although this movie has the audacity to start with text that basically says 1,600 people are killed by random in the US every year. They are picked completely by chance. They are strangers. It's like you're emphasizing these details, but then the rest of the movie is just like, no. It's just like Texas Chainsaw at a certain point, where anyone who comes through this town where this family lives, there's a very good chance they're just going to come and kill them because they're just that crazy.
Well, again, that just feels like you're just shitting on the original premise, which is like, they pick out these specific targets and stuff, and they feel very like they're very smart about what they do and covering their tracks. Here it's like, oh yeah, you're literally killing this whole town. Like, people are going to find out like who you are. You're not going to get away with just indiscriminately killing like everybody you run into. But sometimes it feels like there is no one else in this town. Like, they're in a giant hospital where like 2 people work.
Which actually made me like double. I sort of like questioned that at first, and then I sort of questioned it in a different way. So my first thought was, this is a huge hospital. Why is there literally no one else around here? Like, this is even worse than Halloween 2, where at least it felt like a skeleton crew were working. This is worse than that. But then I thought, from another direction, I thought, but wait a minute, we've seen the size of this town. Would a town this size have a hospital anywhere near this big? They'd have like a small, like maybe medical center, right? A small building with a couple of rooms. This is like a city's hospital that they're in, but they're still technically in this small, redneck town, for lack of a better term. Yeah. So yeah, just
I had the same thought. Yeah.
Yeah, it just didn't make all that much sense. Very, very strange. I think I got to that thought as well because I was like, yeah, well, the reason why there's no one here is because the town's population is so low. There's no reason to have more people. I'm like, well, why do they have a hospital so goddamn big then?
Yeah. And then it's also confusing because every time someone does show up, and I think the movie's intentionally trying to make you think this, but it's kind of like, okay, so are they a stranger? Are they working with the strangers? Like, sometimes people kind of like act like they're like, oh yeah, we know. And then sometimes other people are just kind of like, hey, what? Why is there a guy in a mask here?
It wants you to be thinking that constantly as if it's entertaining, and it's not. It's actively annoying that every single character gets this extreme close-up where like they look like they want to kill the viewer right now because they want us to be suspicious of them, and it's like so over the top that it's impossible to take it seriously or enjoy it.
Yeah.
And even the first movie, had some of that with like when they were meeting the townsfolk early on, but it's even worse in this one because every person she runs into is giving her this crazy eye, like, oh, and she's like, oh, maybe you are a killer, maybe you're one of them, I've got no way of knowing. And it's like, this isn't fun because like, especially since this movie has, like I say, like it doesn't have like a beginning or an ending, which I guess makes sense as a middle chapter to a point, but it means that it's that the entire way through. There's never like a ramp up to where you get to that point and then like a payoff to it because someone turns out to be a hero or a villain. It's just that way the whole time, with no up or down, with no change in direction, with no like, and when it does some stuff at the end, the stuff it does at the end like doesn't even feed into like anything that it was teasing for the rest of the movie. It doesn't feel like it built up to this, other than one like separate set of scenes that were very disconnected, but that doesn't feed into what the main character's doing at all.
No.
So, yeah. Absolute shit show. It's trash. I got to the end of this and I thought that was a waste of time. Honestly, the nicest thing I could say is I was so happy that the end credits were 9 minutes long because it meant I was done earlier than I thought it would be. I was like, we're already done? I thought I had 5 more minutes. Excellent. Oh, right. Done with my day.
Yeah, I was getting so sleepy. This was hard to stay awake through watching it late at night. And yeah, I could not have turned the TV off fast enough. That was I was done.
Yeah, just painfully boring and dull in every conceivable way. And also something I'd like to add on as well is I got the trailer for this like a good 4 or 5 times back, just before it came out in October or thereabouts. And what was shocking to me as I was watching this, and I know people often say like a trailer comes out and they'll say, oh, it felt like they showed the whole movie in the trailer. And people say that because they think it reveals too much or whatever. And I find, I get the complaint that's being made. It's a little bit hyperbolic because more often than not, when I go see a movie, even if I saw the trailer a bunch, the trailer's been smartly edited in a way where things are not in the order you'd expect them to be in. And, there's still a lot of surprises. And because there's the full context of the story, things feel a bit different and so on and so on. As I was watching this movie, it became painfully clear that the trailer was like a summary of like 70 to 80% of the movie. And the only parts that weren't really in it were one kind of pointless section in the middle, which could have just been completely cut out. And then what happens at the end. Everything else, like her going to the hospital, being in the car with certain people, staring at this guy with a tattoo for a bit, some of the key areas she runs through, all of it's in the trailer. And because there's nothing fun in the direction or kills or anything, there's nothing exciting, there's nothing new there that's like, oh, I'm glad I saw the movie for this extra element that spiced it up. I felt like I already saw a summary of this, and in the movie added almost nothing else. Like, you get like 10% more story from the movie than the trailer, and that is so damning. I cannot think of a more damning statement to make for a movie versus its trailer. I mean, I never asked him, what did you think of Strangers Chapter 2?
I kind of liked it, actually.
Did you? You always were a bit of a freak. Yeah, I agree.
No, I mean, obviously we're dogging on it, and I feel bad. I hope Rennie's not listening, because I am a fan, But yeah, no, there's legitimately, I don't think there's anything redeeming about this. Even like if if you keep the story the same, I mean, it's still bad, but if you spice it up with some atmosphere, a more compelling main character, some cool kills, like, maybe there could be something there. But it just, I think the movie looks like shit. I apologize again. I'm not a good actor myself, so I hate to criticize people, but I think the main character is a dud. She's better than her, boyfriend, fiance from the last movie. Who I just thought had no charisma whatsoever. But
did you like, especially early on, they do little flashbacks to the first movie to remind us of the relationship, and I'm like, yeah, there was no chemistry here, and there's still no chemistry here, even these little flashbacks where she's meant to be sad. So
I did actually think that was funny, because it is supposed to be like this big emotional thing, like, oh, remember this guy we loved from the first movie? And it's like, nope, I'm glad he's gone. Yeah, but I mean, it just, it doesn't look good. It's poorly paced. And
yeah, because the scenes where there's a killer stalking her through a hospital should be fun. That should be good, and that's purely down to execution. That's like how the director plots out the scene, what he has the characters do, and how he like reveals the killer popping out here or there, or whatever variation you want to do in it. And we've seen that many times. I mean, obviously I keep going back to Halloween 2 because it's the hospital one, and it's not the greatest horror movie ever by any means, but it's so much better than this. Right? It's not even close, and it's not even that great a movie, but it's so much better than this.
Yeah, and it's like when you're watching scenes like those where someone's trying to run and hide from a person, like, there should be this tension you're feeling where you're like, oh my god, like, is he gonna see her? Like, what's gonna happen? Like, this, every time I was like, oh, well, that's a pretty bad hiding spot. Like, he's probably gonna find her. Like there are times where I'd be like, I feel like he's looking right at her, and then like nothing will happen or whatever, and it's just like, it's bad.
I feel like they always end in one of two ways. Either one of the killers has magically appeared somewhere, like for the spooky like tactics, like to try and make us all go, whoa, they're behind her. Or alternatively, the main character looks like an idiot because she just kind of makes a noise when she's trying to sneak away, and then all of a sudden it's a chase sequence rather than like a sneaking sequence. And it just doesn't have the satisfaction of a much better version of any of these scenes that we've all seen done better before. And that's the other thing. It's like, it's not even like it's trying to do something unique with any of these sequences. It's just the same type of thing that we have absolutely seen done better. Although I will tease without saying exactly what it is, there's a sequence in the middle with a CG animal, which I guess it was trying to do something new, but it was so stupid and poorly done. And also, why is it here other than to pad the runtime? Because, like, the whole section in the middle of the movie where she's in the woods and like doing Rambo stuff, I'm like, we didn't need any of this.
No. No. It was like also kind of confused me for a bit, like the way it was shot, because like they weren't showing the animal at first, and I was kind of confused. I was like, what's going on? Because she's in this car and like things are like getting knocked around and shattered, and I was just like, huh, what? And then once it finally appears, and I'm just like, oh, this is just bad.
Yeah, very strange. Pardon me. So anywho, that's the spoiler-free section. We'll do spoilers now. You've been warned. We're going to get into it. Not that you should care, because it's dog shit. So from here on out, we're going to talk about it. Do you know? So you watched the original Strangers, Tim, and I know you're not the biggest fan, right? And I don't even think I think I've cooled on it as the years have went by. I think in 2008 I quite liked it because it was, it was different to the other things that were coming out at the time.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think to be fair to it, I think. Well, I was gonna say, part of it is like it was a bit original at the time, and then I feel like there were a lot of imitators that came after that maybe diluted it a bit. But now it actually might be a bit up on it again because, like, well, sure as hell is better than these.
Yeah. There's a lot of home invasion movies definitely kind of cropped up after that for sure. But no, you're watching the original Strangers, and let's say you like the movie, right? You're liking that movie, and you were alluding to this earlier that you like it because of the randomness of the why are you doing this because you were home, and it doesn't mean anything, right? Is Tamara here? Who's Tamara? That's kind of creepy because it's so random. Do you know what I don't think any viewer who likes that movie wanted in a Strangers movie, Tim?
I can guess, but please enlighten me.
Childhood flashbacks of the killers and where the word Tamara comes from and how they started killing together and all that bullshit. Oh, I'm trying so hard not to drop F-bombs, Tim. It's really I'm having to really dig deep to not do it.
I was pretty gobsmacked. I already thought that we were going to get more information than we wanted on the killers because they're going through the town and people are giving them the side eye. So it's like, oh, we're gonna find like some type of conspiracy or something, and we're gonna reveal who these people are. I kind of expected that. Wasn't looking forward to it. I didn't expect that we were gonna go all the way back to them as children. So that's already bad enough. But then, the little girl like holds up the doll that's like the same mask that she has later on. It's like rolling my eyes, and then when they do the little childhood game or whatever and ask for Tamara, I was like, oh my god, give me a break. Like this is
so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's got that fuzzy like glow to it, that dream filter, for to make it look all angelic, like the past. It's got that filter on it.
What I kept thinking was, I am shocked that this was ever released in theaters, because this, in some ways, it kind of makes me feel nostalgic. But like to me, this feels like it would have been like the 7th or 8th like installment in a franchise, but it would have been like straight to video. You know what I mean? Like this is like late era Hellraiser, Children of the Corn kind of quality.
I mean, technically it's the 4th in this franchise, if you want to look at it that way.
True.
Because they're doing this game where like a girl goes into this little like shed in the playground area of the school, and the boy who presumably is the male killer of the trio knocks on the door. Knock, knock, knock. Is Tamara there? And then the girl opens the door and gives him a kiss in the lips, and he's all like shocked, like whoa. And then she's like, oh, let's do it again before we have to go back to class. And she goes back inside, and there's been a couple of setup scenes for this where we've seen like our killer girl kind of like watching and not liking this and whatnot. But at the end of the movie, because this is at the end, and the reason why this is at the end is because she's actually like, Maya's killed her in the field. She's finally killed one of them, and that's just sort of like happened. And the male killer has found her body, and he's getting all sentimental and touching her mask. Cut to glowy childhood flashback of his childhood love, right? But when this girl goes back into the little shed or whatever it is, and she hears the knock on the door, she opens the door, and it's the girl. It's her killer girl, and she's like, "Is Tamara there?" And this other girl looks scared, like, "What?" And then killer girl just starts like beating her with a rock, I think.
I think a rock, yeah.
Yeah, and then the boy joins in, and they both just like kill her together, and it's like just this demented little thing, and but everything about this, like the close up on killer girl's eyes, and then the close up on like the victim's eyes of like the I'm an evil little child, like it's especially when she says is Tamara there, it's got this like I'm an evil child actor sort of thing going for it, and it's just so campy, it's so stupid and cheesy. It's garbage. And then when it cuts back to the killer, like holding the mask of his now dead comrade, it cuts to black and says to be continued. The movie just ends there. There's no conclusion in this movie. They think the hook for the end of their chapter 2 is that, oh my god, the main girl, the final girl got one of them. Oh, it's on now. She's leveled up. Like that's what I think they're going for. They're trying to sell us on that. And it falls with a thud.
And then maybe possibly we're like, oh, maybe we'll get even more backstory on these strangers in the next one.
I think we're going to, because there's still stuff they're teasing. But I mean, we know who this woman is. Like, they take the mask off, and it's the waitress at the diner. And I remember saying in chapter 1, because she's the one that suggests going to the cabin, and she drives him up there. I was like, this feels so obvious that she's going to turn out to be one of them. that it's almost like I hope that's not the case, because it's such an obvious path to go down. But no, here she is. This is her. And they basically tell you in the start of the movie that she's one of them, because there's like a little snippet right at the start where it's like set in the past, where she goes up to this guy, a stranger in town, and then she goes up to like a POV shot of someone, so probably the male killer, and says, oh, his name's this, and he's traveling here, and he's alone. And then, like, you know, a couple of quick cuts, she's at the door saying, is Tamara here? So the movie basically tells you this in the opening scene, that she's one of them, right? So it's not even that big of a surprise when it happens at the end.
Yeah, so, real quick, we just talk about the origins of Tamara, I guess. So, I'm not sure I still understand it. Like, is this a game that kids play, or is that girl's name Tamara? Like, was he knocking because he thought maybe she was in there? Or
No. The girl's not named Tamara. So no, like one of the other characters says to her, "It's just a stupid," or because Maya keeps saying, you know, do you know who Tamara is? And everyone keeps giving a funny look. And the nurse lady who tries to help her at one point says, oh, that's just this stupid urban myth around here that all the kids tell each other. So I think in the game, it was kind of like playing Candyman. It's like, you know,
okay.
There's Tamara, there's like saying Candyman in the mirror. I think that's what they were going for with that. Now, I think the reason why everyone's acting weird when she brings it up, the question, either they know the killers asked this, so they know that it's like getting into that territory, or there is like some actual real tragic backstory. I mean, maybe the girl they killed was Tamara. Maybe that's the start of the myth. Maybe that's what this is all about. I don't know.
Yeah, because the only logic that I could kind of extract from that is because it seems like this guy, the young kid, I think seemed to have maybe like a thing with the girl already. Because yeah, obviously the girl like gets very upset when she sees the other girl kiss him. So she obviously likes him, and then I wasn't sure, and then I'm guessing he likes her too because he joins in on the killing. So,
yeah, I mean, that's if there's one way to know you're meant for someone is if they join in the killing with you.
Yeah. So I guess my theory was like, oh, she's named Tamara. He was knocking on the door to see if Tamara was there. She wasn't, and then the girl kissed her. So then Tamara gets mad, and then she decides like, oh, this is our thing now. We ask if Tamara is there, but. Maybe I'm reading way too much into it. I don't know.
I don't think the killer girl's named Tamara. I could maybe see the girl who's killed named Tamara, and this is the start of like the horrific town story about Tamara who died. Because you see adults running up behind them, like right just before the flashback ends, and then presumably they go to juvie or something and or whatnot, or it gets covered up because they keep alluding to this idea. The sheriff keeps saying, oh, we can't get outsiders involved in looking for this girl because they'll figure out we've covered things up. And I was still thinking, oh, maybe Richard Brake, the sheriff, is going to be the male killer. And maybe he still could be like one of the characters. So this is one of the things that goes on in this movie, is that as she's been chased around in the hospital and she goes by a house at one point and in the car with people, is that the vibe I get is that everyone in this town pretty much knows about these killings going on, and but they know that they only.
It feels like
but they know that they only kill outsiders, so they don't really say anything about it. They just keep their heads down. However, when a guy at the hospital walks in on the killer standing there with the axe, because the way he kind of pleads like, "Oh no, please don't," and then the guy just like kills him. It kind of felt like he knew who he was and he was begging not to be killed, but like he knows he's effed up by seeing him. So it's like, okay. But later on, when Maya runs into a woman at a house, and she's like, hey, I just want to find a phone to call the police. And the woman says, oh, the sheriff won't help you. And she's like, wait, why not? And she's because he's... And then she gets like shot from behind with an arrow. And it's like, oh, she was about to reveal something. The sheriff's, at the very least, helping cover these things up, if not actively part of the group. So... there's that, because the creepy mechanic also feels like he's part of things, but I don't know if he's actually the male killer or not.
Yeah, I kind of got the vibe that maybe there's a lot of people that are in on this conspiracy, but maybe not necessarily the actual killers. Like, yeah, I don't know if I think the sheriff is a killer, but he's certainly instrumental in like covering it up and stuff. For sure.
And then obviously the bit that the trailer really did to death is that because she runs through the hospital, we get a lot of chasing and creeping about. She gets outside, she's running through the rain, she eventually gets down the road and she runs into the nurse who was nice to her, and she's in a car with her friend, and they're both being helpful even though Maya's very scared. They talk her into the car, but then like a minute later going down the road, and by this point Maya's like stolen a pair of shoes in the back seat in case she has to run for it because she was barefoot before. But they run into two guys that are also these two girls' roommates. There's four of them who live together. And these two guys get in the car and sit on either side of Maya. And this one guy, the main sort of like intense dude, just stares at her. And every time he's in a scene, it's the same intense close-up, shallow depth of field, and all of the sound effects of his like if he scratches his beard or he takes a drink of beer or whatever, all of his sound effects are all like ramped up much louder than they should be to make you feel really uncomfortable. And it's like if he is not the killer, then this is laying it on so thick. The way he's staring at her, the way he's asking inappropriate questions, and later on when she ends up at their house, because she initially jumps out the car and runs away, and we get 25 minutes in the woods. So we'll get to that in a bit. But when she eventually stumbles onto their place anyway, and they bring her inside and patch her up, this guy gets creepy. He's sort of cornering her and he's asking these weird questions about how it felt to be stabbed and, were you willing to kill them? And she's like, yeah, in that moment I was willing to kill them. And it's all meant to be tense and uncomfortable. But he's just staring at her with this intense, like, let's face it, honestly, it looks like he wants to, like, have his way with her in, like, a really dark kind of way. It really feels intimidating and so over the top. And I thought, at one point, I actually thought the way he kind of storms out after, like, others have told him to calm down and, like, leave her alone, I actually thought maybe the twist here is that the other guy and two girls who live here are the killers, and the reason why he's acting so weird is because he's uncomfortable because he knows they're the killers, and that's why he wants to leave in the car. Once he drives off, though, you never see him again, so he could just be the male killer, or he's going to show up and do something heroic in part 3. I don't know. But they lay everything with him on so thick that it's comical how intense it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's to me, he could potentially still end up being the killer, I guess, but like, it's so over the top that yeah, it feels like it is trying to be a red herring where, yeah, it's just like, oh, like I bet you think this guy's the killer, and then surprise, he's not, but. I guess either way, I'm not really going to be satisfied. Like, if it's like, surprise, he's not the killer.
Oh, yeah, I don't care.
All right, so he's just an annoying character. Or surprise, he is the killer. It's like, all right, well, I guess that makes sense. But I still don't care.
Yeah, it's not satisfying either way. That's a very good point. Like, if he is the killer, it's like so painfully in your face that there's nothing interesting about it. And if he isn't the killer, then it was such a forced, like, thing. You were going out of your way so hard to make him look suspicious that it just felt so unnatural. And there's not enough plot in these movies to give him like another good reason for it, really. And but for the record, my previous theory that the other three roommates were the killers, that went out the window because when Maya, like when the killers show up at the house and attack her, when she gets out to the main room, like all three of them are dead. So they seem to have been killed for helping the potential victim that they're desperate to get to.
I did think something similar. And then something I do want to go back to because this really annoyed the shit out of me, and it just I guess maybe is another reason why I just found the main character to be kind of annoying. But like, there's so many instances where she'll run into people, and it's like a big thing is she gets picked up in this car and everything, and two things drive me crazy. One, it drives me crazy that like they're not more the people in the car are not more concerned about this injured woman in a hospital gown running through the woods. Like they're kind of like, hey Maya, what are you doing? You shouldn't be doing this. You're gonna pop your stitches. Like, get in the car. All right, I'll take you back to my place. But like in that situation, you should be like, oh my god, like what is wrong with you? Like this is so dangerous. Like blah blah blah. Like we need to help you. Like let's go. And then on the other end, it drives me crazy that Maya would never like explain anything. Like she would never be like, oh my god, I'm running from a killer. Like you need to help me, or like we need to like go fast.
I don't think she a single time in this movie to anyone who tries to talk to her ever says they showed up at the hospital and tried to kill me again. She never says that to anyone.
Yeah. And I guess like they probably want you to think like, oh, she can't trust anybody, so she is like, playing it coy and everything. But to me, that doesn't really make sense because the killers know who she is. So, if she doesn't want to say anything because they could be the killers, well, it doesn't really matter because they know who you are. So if they are the killers, like they're gonna do whatever anyway. So you might as well say it and then hope that they'll offer some type of help or something.
Like the character, all the characters she meets act so unnaturally because they want to have that door open enough that you can believe any of them could be the killers, right? So because of that, even the ones who are technically doing nice things and offering help are doing it in just slightly like a weird way, so that there's that little room for, or they just luring her into a trap, and they just getting back to the house so they can kill her there, or are they just doing this because they like playing games with her? That's like it. For like, other than like one or two characters who show up for like one scene and die immediately. Like I laughed so
that
hard.
That does happen a lot.
Yeah, because it happens with obviously the guy that walks in on the hospital scene, right? But there's actually a scene where she goes back to the cabin from the first movie, and she like looks at her. This is, we get a lot of little flashbacks of her like remembering her fiance. Remember we played the piano over there. Oh, so romantic. Oh, you had no chemistry with each other. But this guy shows up and she's scared at first, but he very quickly, and it's notable as well that he is not acting like anyone else in this town. He's like, hey, because he says the right things. He's like, whoa, I'm not going to hurt you. Like, I'm actually here because like the police aren't really responding to us. I'm with internal affairs. This is my identification. And he doesn't sound like all the other characters. He does sound like a real human being. And she's like, oh great, do you have a car? Can you get me out of this town? Like, come back and investigate them later. Just get me out of this town because like, I'm scared shitless. And he's like, sure, let's go to my car. They go out to the car. He sits her in the seat, and then he walks around to his side. And then just as he goes to open the door, gunshot to the head, or arrow to the head, and he's dead. And I'm like, oh, okay. I thought there'd be something more interesting than just he dies immediately. Like I thought maybe, they'll catch up to them on the road, or there'll be more of a game of cat and mouse or something. No, instant death.
Yeah, like at the very least, if you're gonna have a character like this, it usually be to drop some breadcrumbs to like, yeah, he mentions he's from internal affairs and he thinks the cops are up to something, but maybe go into a little bit more specifics just so we get some inkling of a bit more of what's going on in the town or something. But yeah, he's just instantly gone. And it is kind of funny, just like pretty much everyone she runs into just ends up getting killed by the strangers, which again, to me, like I feel like you're just betraying like their MO, because like they feel so clean and methodical in the first movie, and like they have this plan to do this thing at random, cover their tracks, and like no one's gonna ever know it was them. But again, if you're just killing every single person you come in contact with, like that's gonna come back to you at some point.
Yeah, it especially since most of the people they're killing have a vague idea that they exist, and maybe they don't know exactly who they are, but I don't know. It's strange. The other character that shows up is the paramedic who's like on his way to pick her up, and he goes to the creepy mechanic, which is the creepy mechanic's one scene in the movie. But he gets very interested when this guy says he's going to that house. He's like, wait, what are you going there for? You're picking someone up. He's very curious. And then next time we see the ambulance, like that guy's dead in the back of the ambulance, and like one of the killers is driving it. So we don't even get to see that death. Much like all the roommates, we don't see any of their deaths. We just see their bodies after the fact. So
yeah,
that's the thing.
Any potential for like a cool death scene is kind of thrown out the window.
Yeah. Yep.
And now I kind of felt like I don't even think I ever saw the trailer for the third one. I really don't have any idea what it's about, but I kind of get the feeling that maybe they're teeing up for this sister character coming and looking for her at some point.
Yeah, she calls her sister, who's the one who sent the ambulance to come get her. So presumably, yeah, she might show up. Other than that, I expect more running around forests and other town areas until we eventually get some sort of climax, would be my guess. So to rewind a little bit, there's a whole set, because actually, so hospital, chase through there, get to car, jump out of car, run through forest. And she actually has, I guess she grabbed a first aid kit at some point, because she has like not only like the stitches to actually stitch her wounds back up, but she even has like a bottle of like alcohol to like, and when I say alcohol, I don't mean like she has like a bottle of whiskey. I'm like she has like a bottle of medical alcohol to like sterilize the wound. So we get her like biting down like a stick and like stitching her wound back up because it's the stitches have popped open. So so I was like, okay, I'm like, what are we doing here? Why have we got this section in the middle where she's doing this, and then this is before like the killer releases a boar into the woods, and we get a whole boar sequence with her.
Yeah, again, there could have been some potential for like a fun, crazy scene like this, but it's just it looks so fake, and I wasn't doing anything interesting, and a little bit of me was like, have we really gotten to this point where now we're introducing CGI wild animals to this franchise? But
well, no, I mean it's not wild. It's like his pet boar who like wants to get her so much that it actually rams through the back of an abandoned car until it crushes all the way through it to get to her, and she has to jump out of the car. Like, it's so determined. It's more determined to get her than the shark is determined to get the boat in Jaws. It's so hell bent on it. It's like he's that well trained. And then eventually, like, you know, she gets bit in the leg and she gets dragged, and the boar's on top of her, but she's able to stab it, and it's like, okay, she's killed the boar. I'm glad we wasted 5-10 minutes doing all this, which, by the way, also included one of the flashbacks to the killer's childhood was of the boy and the girl with his like boar and the little pen.
That's right.
And they're talking about boars and stuff. This movie's a bore.
That's right.
Okay, it wasn't a great joke, I admit, but like, yeah, give me a little something.
Better than anything this movie would have come up with.
Oh sure, not that this movie ever tries to crack a joke. This movie does not know what humor is. It's not aware of its it can't even do us the honor of being like bad in a funny way, right? There's nothing intentionally funny and there's nothing unintentionally funny. It's just miserable.
Yeah, this is the worst kind of movie where, like, if you're gonna be bad, I mean, you know, we say this all the time, but at least be that like over the top cheesy kind of bad where, you know, I'm just laughing the whole time and I'm like, oh man, I can't believe they're doing this or whatever. But no, this is just bad in the most boring way possible, where there's nothing enticing or engrossing about it. You're just kind of like counting down the minutes till it's over.
So there's a couple of things they do, right? Because by the time she gets into the house with the roommates, that's actually like maybe 20 minutes away from the end of the movie. And once the killers show up there, and this is one of the scenes where like one of the ladies is trying to like you know, get through the door, and she's like blocked the door up, but somehow the other female killer's just standing behind her, or just standing there creepily. It feels one of those like stupid moments just for the sake of the scare, rather than thinking about how it actually works. But right, so she gets out and she gets to the ambulance, and because one of the lady killers is in the ambulance and try to like strangle her from the back, she basically flips the ambulance. Like, you know, she drives to the side, swerves into something, and it flips the truck over, and the killers went flying out the window. And by this point, she's been stabbed as well. In fact, there was a moment before she even started driving the ambulance where she thought she was dead because she stabbed her in the face through the mask. And it's a notable little moment, because this is clearly something they're doing here, is that she stops and sort of watches her die. And it turns out she's not dead, but she thinks she's dying. So Maya watches her die, and it's like, oh, she's just become a killer. And she looks like she enjoyed it, but not in the sense that she's going to become one of the strangers, or maybe that's where they're going to go with this. Maybe she's going to become the replacement.
Oh, man.
Is that the ending? Is that what they're going to do with part 3?
Oh man.
Because she kind of like, but at the very least I thought, oh no, she's leveled up because now she's lethal and now she's willing to kill them back, and that's maybe, in theory, I can see why that's a big deal on paper. It doesn't feel like a big deal in the movie, but I can see what they're trying to do with it.
I mean, if these last 2 movies were great and we really love the character, then this would be an awesome way to end it, where it's like, okay, she took one of them out, now she's an uber badass, and the next movie is going to be her hunting them. Like that, I can see how that would be compelling. But I mean, I have no faith in the series.
Yeah.
at this
also,
point to do.
You're doing a lot of like putting in like stuff that's not there by saying, oh, at the end of the second movie she's an uber badass and now I want to see her hunt them. That's like, see if this was Erin from Your Next, or
right.
Pick a good final girl. Like if it was anyone who felt like, capable by the end of their story, that would be one thing. But Maya has done nothing interesting. She's just been kind of reacting to people who might be the killer all movie, or running. There's a whole sequence in the woods where she gets chased like through some stables and she's hiding around the horses whilst the female killer's chasing her down. Like that's a whole segment which I've got nothing to say about it. It's there. It's just generic stalking stuff. There's nothing really exciting about it. So yeah, she swerves the ambulance. Lady killer goes flying out the window. And when she goes up she almost unmasks her, but then let the other killers show up in their truck, so she runs away to the woods. And the male killer looks at the mask, takes it off, and it's it's the waitress from the diner, and we get the stupid flashback we already talked about, and then it's like to be continued, and it's like, all right, movie. I mean, I guess it's personal now because she killed one of yours. Even though I feel like I almost think that them trying to make her the new third killer because she's now killed one of them is almost too much of an interesting idea for this trilogy to actually try and do.
Right.
It's like, don't get me wrong, I think if they try and do it, it's going to be terrible because these have been terrible in every way, and it's going to be shit. But I think that it's at least an interesting thing to try and do, and I just don't think this trilogy has that in it. But maybe they'll try it. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm trying to think if I have even like any small bit of morbid curiosity about what they do in the next one. I feel like no, because I had that with this one going in, and I was just like so let down that it doesn't seem like there's any way that like they could redeem it even in the slightest.
No, I mean, as much as we said there's a couple of small objective things that are technically better about this one because it's in some locations at least and so on, there's also some objective things that are worse. Like the first movie, as much as it was a slog to get through and as much as we hated the characters and there was no chemistry, there was at least a bit more structure to it because it had to introduce the characters, it had to set up the premise, it had to build up to the things happening. But here we start off and we're basically, after like a small scene where she talks to the sheriff, the killers are in the hospital and we're stalking. And then we're stalking pretty much for the whole movie at that point. And it's in one gear, it never really changes. And the only sort of break you get is when she meets like a townsperson, but then that gets repetitive because it's always the same thing. Is this the killer she's talking to? Can she trust them? And if it seems like she can, they're probably going to die immediately anyway. So,
yeah,
so it's very repetitive and nothing interesting really happens as a result. It's the most boring, bland version of every horror movie scene you've ever watched. And then like a stupid CG bore at one point for reasons, which is so not, again, like it's not as offensive as trying to explain the childhood backstory of the killers because that's like so fundamentally the opposite of what the Strangers is supposed to be. But this CG bore stuff is also like just not the Strangers either. It's not as like on the nose offensive, but it's still just like, oh, this is just like weird. Like, why are we doing this? That's so.
And I mean, it's weirdly not entertaining because like even if the CGI and stuff is bad, like you would still think that that'd be a crazy sequence that would be really fun, and like it's not. It's bland and boring, even though it seems like it's trying to be kind of crazy. But
and all the abandoned cars, I assume, are all like previous victims. Like that's just the cars have been abandoned in the woods, and it's like that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, my guess would be like, and again, it does feel very like Texas Chainsaw, where you have this small town that's probably not doing very well economically, and then you have this group of killers that kill outsiders when they come, and then the sheriff probably helps hide the bodies and stuff, but then that could be a source of income where they can take whatever items they have that might be worth something, or I don't know. I might be stretching things a bit.
That feels a bit weirdly short-sighted on their part, though, if that's the case, because surely because people don't carry that much cash, for example, they would probably spend more money if they were just like, spending money in the motel to like stay there and like buying like local food and like things as they were passing through. Like it feels worse for their economy to be killing it, because if anything, this is just going to eventually get a reputation in this town and no one will want to come through it.
I mean, they're clearly not very smart. Like they keep continuously killing people that are going to have very obvious like trails back to them. Like, that sister sent a paramedic to them. Like, she's going to have receipts and like, whatever emails or texts or whatever showing. Not
to mention the internal affairs guy. Like he literally was there because the police are suspicious. He's turned up dead. What do you think is going to happen when he turns up dead? Like they're all going to be like, well, something fishy's definitely going on now. Let's send in the entire team.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, again, just to keep going back to it, like it seems like the whole MO of the strangers is that they're supposed to be kind of low key and do stuff at random because, I mean, well, obviously they seem to like it or whatever, but also part of that you think is because they don't want it to come back to them so that they can keep doing their crimes and stuff. But
let's forget the original movie, right? Let's forget anything in the original. Right, yeah. Let's just base it on the last movie. Even the last movie, it feels like they want to keep killing people, even though we don't like that it's in this one location and they're constantly just pulling people in that way. As much as we don't like that, and it's very much against the original, even on that premise, it still feels weird for them to just go nuclear and start killing like tons of like NPCs in the town. You know?
Right.
Just really weird. So unless the idea is that because someone survived for the first time, they're just like getting agitated and panicking and just getting reckless, which, that's not necessarily a bad idea to say, hey, the killers are getting reckless, but honestly, it's hard to get a sense that that's what's happening because all these characters haven't really been that well defined because they're all just acting suspicious. So if anything, what's happening is that when a character dies, the only thought I've got is like, oh, I guess they weren't one of the killers, because up until now, they wanted me to think that they were either one of the killers or at least willing to work on behalf of the killers to help cover stuff up.
I kind of feel like the only thing we didn't really mention, another little piece in the puzzle is the aggro roommate guy. He has this tattoo of like a little smiley face on his neck, which we see. So I think he mentions that he got that at like a teen summer camp or something, or like Christian camp,
which I assume is what all the kids were at in the flashbacks, because they were all in white. It felt kind of Christian-y, I guess.
Yeah, and then one of the last shots of the movie is after they kill the little girl and there's just blood everywhere, which I don't know how you get that much blood from little kids hitting you with rocks, but there's just a ton of blood, and then they write that little smiley face in the blood. So there's some type of connection there.
Sounds like you want to do a test, Tim, to see if it's possible to get that much blood from a kid just from using a rock.
I mean, we'll see. I'm sure we can do some Mythbusters about that.
Hey, you've got two kids. You two? One's fine, right?
I mean, can't even joke about that because someone could probably call the authorities on me. So, yeah, but.
I love how you didn't say, no, that's shot. How could you even joke about such a thing? You said, no, I can't joke about that because I may get into trouble.
Yeah. I mean, if this is a more interesting movie, we could talk a lot about what this means, what our theory behind the symbol and blah, blah, everything is. But again, I feel like they're laying breadcrumbs I just do not care about. I'm just like, okay, I see you're setting something up, but I don't give a shit at this point.
I think the smiley face was in the original movie in some way, or maybe it was in the sequel, but I don't think it's new to this trilogy, because I feel like I already associated the smiley face with the strangers. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm making that up, but it feels like they were explaining something again that didn't need explained,
Yeah, again, I don't really remember the originals that much, but I could see that as maybe being something they draw on like a window or something maybe.
Yeah, something like that. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what it was, but yeah. So yeah, I guess there's two killers now. They're going to be pissed. Did they get an instant replay? Does the town fill in? Does someone say, "Okay, I'll be the third killer now"? Here we go. And it also, it's like, okay, so we're alluding to the relationship that she had with the guy killer who's like the leader. So who's the other one? Like, part of me was like, they're too young for that to be their daughter, right? Unless the other one's much younger than we think, because she's wearing a mask. So she could be like younger than we expect, but I don't know. I feel like, do we really expect the person under the other mask is like 13, 14? I don't think so.
Oh, no, I wouldn't think that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought so, but who knows what they'll try and pull next time. Yeah.
Guess we'll find out.
We will. In a few months' time, we'll find out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not in any rush to see this movie, but we might want to prioritize it a little bit, just because I feel like I'm going to forget so much of this stuff if we wait a year again to
Oh, it won't be a
it.
year. No. I mean, but having said that, like, forget what, though? Nothing happened. Like, one killer got, and, like, you know, she was a childhood sweetheart of the male killer. That's it. That's all you need to remember. Like, does anything happen with Maya that's important? Although, I guess the only important detail for her is that she eventually killed one of the killers and seemed to enjoy it in some way. That's it.
Yeah.
Nothing else important happened the entire movie. But no, we'll do it. It'll probably be like a summer or early summer, maybe a late spring kind of time frame, because we've got a few things on the docket for the next few weeks. But once it's available at home, we'll do it just to get out of the way as quickly as possible, I imagine. But yeah, there you go. All right, Tim, what are you rating The Strangers Chapter 2 out of 10?
I don't suppose you have handy what I gave the first one.
Oh, I could check.
I was trying to think if
I've got.
I feel like I went pretty low. I don't remember if it was like 1 or 1.5.
I can tell you that you gave it a 1.
Okay. That's good, actually, because I wanted to go slightly above the first one, but I don't know, even going like a 2 felt like too much. I think this is 1.5. Yeah, this is just a total stinker. Again, the only kind of thing I really have to say is that it's, you know, a little different from the first one, so at least it's not just retreading the same ground. But again, there's no atmosphere. It's so boring. The main character is not interesting. They're ruining any mystique these villains have by adding this bullshit backstory, and then it feels incomplete because it just ends. And yeah, it looks terrible. I don't know. There's, you know, really nothing to say. And then, you know, all this stuff is bad, but it doesn't even have the grace to be like bad enough that at least it's fun to laugh at or anything. It's just that there really is nothing here. This is really maybe some of the worst set of movies we've done on the show before.
Well, hold on. The worst? That's a bold statement. I mean, are you forgetting when Yeah, on you go. What are you saying?
No, I said one of the worst.
Okay, that's fine. All right, okay. Because I was about to say, do you not remember when the Howling went line dancing?
Howling.
Yeah, because
yes.
I'm like, there's a couple of examples we can maybe bring up, or like the back half of the Hellraiser movies, for example.
Yeah, I would say, like, you know, if we were gonna do like top 5 worst franchises we covered on the show, like, yeah, it's not gonna be number 1, but I mean this. Well, I mean, I guess if you're doing the franchise as a whole, that's a bit tough. But like this new trilogy or whatever would be in some of the worst.
It was, yeah. Harlin might win that because it's not even like it starts off on the highest of high points. Now does this one, to be fair.
Yeah.
Whereas at least Hellraiser has a great movie at the start.
Right.
You know, it has that going for it, and then a couple of okay sequels, and then it goes to shit.
Yeah.
So yeah. What might I give? I give the last one a 2 out of 10. Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with the 1.5. I'm going down a 0.5 from my last one, and that's because I think that, well, there's objectively some technical things you can say are better. There's technically more kills. There's technically more locations. It never amounts to anything because ultimately it's just the stalking of a final girl for almost the entire runtime of a movie with no ending. And some of the things that it tries to do in explaining the killer's backstory are so laughably bad and try hard, but not even in like a fun way, not in a way where you're laughing like you're watching a fun bad movie, just laughably bad because there's not enough of it. But by the time you get to that final scene where it tries to treat the reveal like a big deal to end the movie on, it just lands with a thud. It's nothing really builds or does, there's no chemistry with the lead character and her dead husband from the last one, so you don't care about any time she has little flashbacks to that. I don't think she's very likable or easy to root for. The whole thing where every character she meets looks super suspicious and acts like a creep so we can think they might be one of the killers is so tiring, and I was over it in the first movie. I am like double, triple over it in this one. And then the horrible CGI boar scene in the middle, which is just padding. There's an entire section in the middle which is just padding. Yeah, so it's a complete waste of time. It's a waste of effing time, and you should not be watching this trilogy. And I am dreading having to watch the third one. But at least that one will have an ending, in theory.
Right. Yeah.
So we shall see. 1.5 out of 10 from both of us. There you go. Worst movie we've done this year for sure. Now, obviously, this is coming out after we've done Stream 7 and The Bride, so those might have really stunk. We don't know. But at least at the time of recording, the lowest rated movie we did so far was Marshmallow. Yeah, which got Between Us got a 3.5. That was the average of that one. To be fair, if that's the worst thing we've done, things weren't too bad up until now. This is in a different league than that. This is not even close. Yeah. So there you go. That's The Strangers Chapter 2. Next time on the show, I need to go check because this one's not going out for several weeks. In theory, unless things change, because it's already changed release date like 3 times, in theory, next week should be Ready or Not 2.
Okay.
In theory. So, again, we're recording this a little bit in advance before some other new releases come out, but in theory, next week should be Ready or Not 2, which we didn't like the first one that much, so I mean, I'm not sure how we're going to feel about this one, but we'll find out, I guess. So look forward to that. You can, of course, support Screams After Midnight and help keep the show coming and all the other Male Fuzz movie shows by going to patreon.com/MaleFuzzTV or by becoming a YouTube member as an alternative if you like, to get access to the bonus episodes we do most months where we'll do either a silly movie or maybe we'll use it to get a sneak an extra 2025 movie in or something like that if we're still doing those, which we are right now because we did this, but and we also do even more streams, and we do that most weeks where we'll have like a little top 5 or a topic, we'll talk about some horror movie news, basically whatever we feel like as a little extra discussion. Those could range from like 20 to 40 minutes long, and then once or twice a year there'll be like a special one that's like a feature length preview or Octoberthon wrap up or something like that. So yeah, if you like hearing us talk about horror movies and like the idea of stuff that isn't just reviews, then even more streams is a cool bonus show that we do. But that is us. So thank you for joining. We do appreciate it. We'll see you next time for more. Keep watching scary movies. And I don't want to watch Chapter 3 of The Strangers.